Hello, fellow adventurers. Today we're going to be talking about the second leg of our Pan-American adventure. We're going to be completing the Alaska Highway before transitioning to the Richardson Highway and then carrying on to Fairbanks, Alaska. And we hope you'll follow along with us on our adventures.
We left Liard Hot Springs behind us and we crossed over the 60th parallel into the Yukon, and it's considered the beginning of Canada's north. And I was surprised to find that 40% of Canada's landmass is north of the 60th parallel. So that's a huge portion of Canada that we really hadn't explored before.
The first stop along the way that we're going to talk about is the Watson Lake Signpost Forest, which was pretty cool. It was very interesting. In 1942, while building the Alaska Highway, it was common practice for the U.S. Army of Engineers to put up directional posts to their camps. Private Carl Lindley was stationed at Watson Lake to recuperate, and during that time, his commanding officer got him to repair and repaint the directional post. While Carl was carrying out this task, he decided to add his hometown sign of Danville, Illinois. Carl started what is now known as the world-famous signpost. And as you can see, there's posts from all over the world that are now collected in that spot.
And posts made from all kinds of things, pie plates, flip-flops, you name it, they're nailed to a post with people's names on it. It's pretty amazing.
And if you travel through Watson Lake, you can make your own signpost and add it to the signpost forest.
We are going to be crossing the bridge, getting over to the town of Teslin. So the bridge crosses Kluane Lake and takes us over to into the town of Teslin.
Okay, so the bridge that we're crossing is the Sutlin Bay Bridge, and it's actually due to be replaced, which is why on the right you see a bridge that's being built, and this bridge is at end of life.
And Teslin is home to the Teslin Inland Tlingit First Nations, and much of the community's livelihood revolves around trapping, hunting, and fishing. And then here we are pulling into the Yukon Hotel and Campground, which is right on the lake.
Actually, we had a great spot to camp there, right on the lake.
Right on the water?
Yeah, it was awesome. Also, if you camp there, they give you a discount on fuel, which is good because we did notice fuel prices were going up throughout the entirety of the time that we were traveling through the north. So nice to get a bit of a break. And they have a restaurant up front. So we did stop at the city of Whitehorse. We had a busy day. We had to go by Cal Tire. We needed our tires changed. We knew that going into this trip that we'd have to do a change out there.
And then while our tires were getting done, we hopped over to Yukon Brewing, which was just a couple doors down, and tried a few of the beers they had on tap. Then we overnighted at Burwash Landing just outside of Whitehorse.
It had a really nice spot right on the lake there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the road between Whitehorse and Beaver Creek in the Yukon. So that's just before you make the transition over onto the US side. It is challenging. There are sections of washboard, lots of sections of repaired road that really, put a beating on the suspension.
Driving north toward Fairbanks, the road starts to feel like a roller coaster. This isn't poor maintenance, it's the physical sign of a landscape in motion. We are crossing permafrost, a foundational mix of rock, soil, and ancient ice that binds this northern ground like cement. The road acts like a solar panel, heating the soil, causing it to collapse.
To help mitigate the impacts of road construction, engineers developed these strange poles called thermosiphons. They work by literally drawing in the cold. In winter, pressurized gas inside these tubes condenses and then falls, and relatively warm ground heat boils it back to vapor, which rises to diffuse that heat into the atmosphere. It's a passive cycle that overcools the ground so it stays solid during the summer.
Losing the permafrost doesn't just affect the road. We release ancient carbon and methane that have been locked away for eons, accelerating global warming. We need these highways to connect remote communities and experience this wilderness. But every kilometer of pavement is an intervention in a delicate ecosystem. Minimizing that impact isn't just an engineering goal, it's a conservation necessity.
When we pulled into Beaver Creek, there were 2 gas stations that were available to us and that had diesel. And one of those 2 stations was out of diesel, so we were grateful that the other station both had diesel and that we had some extra diesel fuel on board just in the event of an emergency.
Yeah, I don't know how long you have to wait if it's out of diesel until the tanks get filled again, but I didn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah, I'm glad we weren't. We haven't spent much time talking about the scenery, but I have to tell you, it was absolutely spectacular. Winding roads, rolling hills, beautiful mountains that surrounded us. It was really breathtaking.
It was, regardless, all of the way through, really. all the way through the Yukon. It was pretty amazing. We kept talking about how the word we kept overusing the word spectacular, because it was just every time we'd come around a corner, there would be these amazing open vistas, of mountain ranges and beautiful blue lakes, and it was really amazing. And we had some spectacular views of the Kluane ranges. It was pretty amazing.
All right, so the body of water that you see off to the right-hand side, sort of peeking between the trees, is Kluane Lake. And I can tell you that it's the largest lake that's entirely in the Yukon.
Yeah, it's part of the Bering Sea watershed, and the highway follows the south side of the lake, so you get to see a lot of the lake. We went past Kluane National Park, which is an amazing national park, including Canada's highest peak, Mount Logan, as well as the Kluane range of mountains. It includes the world's largest non-polar ice field, and the park itself is co-managed by several First Nations and the Government of Canada.
We followed the Alaska Highway to the Alcan border crossing, which is just past Beaver Creek.
And then we stopped at the Teslin Wildlife Refuge, which is visited by thousands of migratory birds each spring and fall.
After that, it was on to Delta Junction, and there's a cool little marker at the visitor center in Delta Junction that marks the end of the Alaska Highway and the transition to the Richardson Highway, which is going to take us north up to Fairbanks. After Delta Junction, we drove up to Fairbanks, and the difference in the highways between northern Canada and Alaska was unbelievable. We made this transition after the Alcan border, and the highways were smooth, paved, and really no problems.
And the weather we had was great. It was nothing but sunshine.
On this leg of the trip, we decided to just make a brief stop in Fairbanks so we could get ourselves ready to tackle the infamous Dalton Highway.
We stayed overnight at a lovely community garden that is part of a camping network. We went and found this fantastic cocktail bar called The Library, and then we took an opportunity to escape from the heat and go public skating.
In summertime in Alaska. The next part of our trip will take us farther up into Alaska, up the Dalton Highway, also known as the Haul Road. This is really a supply line for a lot of the oil industry that's located in northern Alaska. We really look forward to sharing our adventures and experiences, and as always, we hope to see you out there.